ist unerbittlich. Er ist investigativ. Er geht der Sache auf den Grund. Herzlich willkommen bei Chris geht der Sache auf den Grund.
Hello and welcome everybody to the world premiere of Chris Investigates. In our first show, it's an honor for me to present you a living legend of cooperative board game designing. When I say Arkham Horror, Defenders of the Realm, Defenders of the Last Stand, Alien Uprising, Elder Sign, Freedom 5, I could continue the whole evening. It's Mr. Richard Launius. Hi, Richard. Thank you so much for being with us.
Well, I'm very glad to be here. And you know that the word legend means old, okay? So that's the key to the word legend, okay? I realized a few years ago they started introducing me as a legend at conventions, and it didn't take me long to figure out what they meant. I'm old.
Okay, very good. So, let's get right into the interview. Can you tell us, what are you working on at the moment?
Working on a lot of Freedom 5 comics. We that Kickstarter did really good, and what we're really trying to do is make every comic book as unique as possible. So no matter what you're doing, not only does it feel like Sentinels and the Sentinels villains, but each comic book feels very, very different. So I'm working on that right now. We've got had a call on it yesterday. I think we've got 6 comics completely done, but there's 14 in the line. So. And as you go, the characters, the heroes get a little stronger, so the stories get a little stronger. So you got to make sure that all gets balanced out. But right now, they've got artists working on it. So I'm writing comics, and of course, writing the comics is just part of it. Then you have to make the game, and you still have to work within the perimeters of the core mechanics. So it's interesting. It's fun. So working on that. Working on a game that is going to come out with a couple of my friends of mine. Mr. B Games will actually be, one of the keys in that one, as well as Taryn, who I've done some games with in the past. But doing a game called Rolling Thunder, which is a dice rolling stock car racing game. So it brings it's fast action, a lot of dice rolling, decision making, where you put your dice on actions and you gain different cards that let you do different things on the track. You have to program your actions, and it's a lot of fun, very interactive for 3 to 8 players. And just came out, well, I guess it's just now coming out, of course, is Mutant Insurrection from Fantasy Flight. So people who, I think a lot of people who like the X-Men, and it's got certainly some elements from Elder Sign in it, but it's a tremendously different game. It has some of those elements, but the X-Men are strong, so it's really a matter of how if you send multiple X-Men onto a mission, they're going to achieve that mission. But how many missions did you leave? Okay, so unlike Elder Sign, where you're out there by yourself, you've got a team. So there's a lot of team decisions and how you help each other when you're on those missions and what you do. So. That one I think should do very well, and that's just a lot of fun to play. And I'm working on a second edition of Defenders of the Realm. It's the main stuff has been done, but the story aspect and how you do it, I'm really looking at, and I've already done several of them right now. But you can mix and match 4 different colored generals any way you want to, and it's quick. It's not like the old one where you have to take out these cards, put in these cards. Every general has their own deck of cards, and you just mix their deck together, kind of like Smash Up, and that makes up the Darkness Spreads deck. And so, if I want to go with the Ints instead of the Orcs, then I just take the Ints and put them in the game and take the Orcs out. So you get one of each color, but you can mix and match any way you want to. I think that one's going to be a lot of fun. So
yeah, sounds exciting. Will it be a Kickstarter for Defenders of the Realm?
I don't know, because I haven't decided who it's going to go to at this point. The contract with Eagle Games has been wonderful, but it's kind of time for that one to come to an end. So the contract will run out with them very early next year, and then at that point somebody else will pick it up. So whoever picks it up will decide how they want to handle it. So
Ah, okay. While we speak about Kickstarter, did Kickstarters change the way you're working or you're designing games?
No, not the way I design games, but they do change the way you work. The way I design games is always the same. I come up with a theme, and then I build the mechanics around that theme, and I work in development to make sure that the experience that I wanted that theme to provide actually comes across with the players. Then I sell that game to a company. Obviously, they do further development and testing and whatever. But then if they go Kickstarter, that usually means I have more work to do later. Okay, like for example, there was only supposed to be 6 comic books in Freedom 5. Well, there's 14. So so now they're back like, well, no, we can't write these things. Yeah, I know. I'm working on those, but they're doing a great job. I got to tell you, I could not be more pleased with what Arcane Wonders has done. They are paying top-notch comic book artists. They are everything they are doing is top-notch, whether it's miniatures, the storylines, we're working with Greater Than Games to make sure the storylines are exactly following the way they foresee those characters and stuff. Working with Christopher, that's been great. But that's what usually comes back. Companies start promising things on, you get this reward, you get that reward. And what I have to do then, really not just me, every designer, is make sure they don't break the game, okay? That they don't do something that makes the game not work the way it's supposed to. And and so that's where you come in, where you end up doing more work. I mean, you could tell the company, well, you promised it, you make it, but I'd say that as a designer, that's kind of risky because you may not have the experience you wanted that game to have if you do that.
Yeah, okay, I understand. And your approach when designing a board game is more like there is a theme and I want to find fitting mechanics, or that's the correct. Other way around. That's correct.
No, that's correct. No, I don't think anybody ever looks at my mechanics and marvels over them. They're like, oh, wow, this is such a mind-bending mechanic. My mechanics, I try to make to where the game, as much as possible, is smooth and elegant. Okay, I'd love it to be elegant, but I want it to be smooth. And what I try to avoid is never be clunky. Okay, in other words, especially if you're doing co-op games where the board has its own artificial intelligence, you want that to be as clean and fast and smooth as possible. Okay, you don't want it to be do this, go to that chart, roll this over here, now move over here, now move over here, now check this chart. Okay, now you can take another turn. Okay. You just want it to be as smooth and clean as you can possibly make it. And you also want it to be as competitive. People don't want to just play a cooperative game and beat it and like, okay, I beat it so easy, I knew we were going to win 6 turns before the end. Usually if you beat one of my games, you're like, whoa, that was close. Okay.
Yeah, so, we come to that later. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I really want. I want the game to be beatable, but not easily beatable. And I also want, like a lot of randomization in my game, I want to know that if you come back and play my game again, you're going to have a similar experience, but not the exact same experience. Okay. Yeah. So the mechanics is going to be the same. I know what I'm doing, but what's happening story-wise in the game can take me in a lot of different directions. And that's, to be honest with you, that's probably harder to do than it sounds, or harder to do than a lot of people think. Therefore, when I do mechanics, I approach a game the way I assume that the many authors approach writing a book. Here's the story I want to tell, okay? And then how do I tell that story? The only difference between me and them is I'm going to tell my story with game mechanics. So what game mechanics work? And I'm not really one to follow fads. I don't really like, okay, everybody wants a deck builder right now, so I'm going to do deck builder. Everybody wants this worker placement, I'm going to do worker placement. I try to look at what mechanics work best with this game, and it makes sense to work in this game, and then I try to put those mechanics in. And sometimes it just doesn't work, okay? I've had games where I've redesigned them 5 and 6 times because the mechanics I chose originally just didn't work. And you can tell, by the way, when you sit down with your first play test with other people, you can tell whether it's working or not. And you don't really need a lot of feedback to see whether or not your mechanics are working. Okay, it becomes very clear very early.
Yeah, okay. And how did you become a board game designer? What was your motivation, your inspiration?
Well, back when I became a board game designer, there was maybe 8, 10 games a year that came out.
Yeah.
Most of them came out from war game companies, so there would be like 10 war games and 2 non-war games. So
Yeah.
that was the standard. So whether it was SPI or Avalon Hill or somebody like that, that's really what you were looking at. So I started designing games because there just wasn't any games coming out that I liked. I liked them, but they weren't what I was looking for. So I would play games and I would say, well, that was okay, but it just didn't really satisfy me for what I was looking for out of a game. And then I started getting ideas. But to be honest with you, I've always designed games going all the way back to when I was, probably in junior high. I would design little sports games that on paper, or little baseball games where you use a pencil to hit a rolled up piece of paper as a ball onto something that would go into circles or whatever. So I've always liked the idea of designing games, but as time's gone by, I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to design the game I want to play. And if other people want to play that, great. If they don't want to play it, I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, sounds cool. And how does it feel today, many, many years later, when you're called a legend of board game designing?
I tell people, and I truly mean this. I'm one of the most blessed people in the world. I've wonderful family. I had a wonderful career as an executive within the Yellow Pages AT&T organization. I've had a wonderful career as a game designer. I designed a baseball uniform the Chicago White Sox wear. I have friends, certainly in this industry and other industries. Everywhere I go, I would say they're more of acquaintances now because I don't get to see them all that much. But I always enjoy seeing people and interacting with people at conventions and stuff. So I feel the answer to that question is I feel blessed. A lot of it's just hard work because some people say you've been lucky, and I guess maybe I have. But I can tell you this: the harder I work, the luckier I get, and that seems to be what it is. And I think the key to it is it's really great to be able to do something and get paid for it that you love doing. And that's been true whether I go back to when I was a graphic artist in Yellow Pages, or I was a manager or an executive and in game design. All those things I was doing, I really enjoyed doing.
Yeah, sounds cool. And from all the billions of board games you designed, do you have a favorite?
Geez. You know what? I would say Arkham Horror is my favorite in various forms. Sometimes I like the Eldritch Horror version better of it. Sometimes I like the original back 1987 version of it. Sometimes I like the first one published by Fantasy Flight. Sometimes I like the 3rd edition. Sometimes, to me, even Elder Sign's an offshoot of that. So obviously that line's been my most successful. So I really enjoy it. But I enjoy them all. So it's I made them because I wanted to play them. I never really made any of them just because I wanted to make a game and sell it. Okay, I made all of them because I had an idea for a game that I thought would be fun, and I just made the game and played it. So the thing is, if you ask any designer what's their favorite, it's the next one, because that's the only one they're playing at this time. Okay, it's the next one.
Okay, yeah, sounds clear. And of course, you love playing games, and you can't play Richard Launius games the whole day. Do you have favorite designers or other games you love to play?
Oh, I love I mean, it's hard. It's hard to think of all the different designers that I like. So I don't want to name one because I'll skip one if I do. I'm not going to name any games. I think there's just a great abundance of games that are coming out at this point, and I like playing all of them. I would say almost there's too many games coming out at this point. I can't even sit down and play all of them if I wanted to. But yeah, I mean, I can think of a lot of game designers who I can name right now, but I know good and well if I don't, then I'm going to have one of them say, how come you didn't name me in my games? Okay, so I'm going to skip naming anybody's games. I will simply tell you that as a industry, we are blessed with a brilliant group, and most of them are far more talented than I've ever been. They just really, understand this industry, how to make a game, how to build mechanics, how to satisfy customer base, how to work with the game companies. There's just a huge number of them at this point. And, I could go down a list and they would all be top name guys, but then I would leave one out and then I would hear about it. So.
Yeah. Okay. A few last questions, and of course we need to speak about Alien Uprising.
Okay.
Because I learned about this game last year, though it's a few years older already, and I learned to love it, though I never had a chance to beat it so far.
Well, I tell you what, Alien Uprising is actually one of my most fun designs. And when it was originally designed, you would definitely beat it, but then you would definitely get creamed. It was very swingy. You could lose early, you could win, early, you could get creamed. Okay, either way. I mean, it was all over the place. And it's still one of my favorite designs. Now, right now, I'm working on a second edition of it. And what I'm going to do is make you much more heroic than you used to be. But I'm making the bugs more powerful, too. So, you get a little of both. But you're going to be able to kill a lot more bugs no matter what your character is now. And I think people want that. And I've got a lot of neat things going on with it. But the biggest thing we did to that, and I think Sean did a great job at Mr. B Games with it and developing it. But one of the things we did is we got a mathematics doctor, teacher from the University of Colorado to tighten up those mechanics so it wasn't swingy. I think he tightened them a little too much because you can win, but you will barely win if you win. Okay, and that turned off a lot of people. From what I think, because I've been working on the second edition, what I've noticed is how much I really love everything about that game, except that I can't hardly win it myself. Okay, and
that's good to hear.
And my goal, the game has about a 10% chance of winning. Okay, that's really the number on it right now. Most games I design so that if you are a good player, you have a 30% chance of winning.
Okay.
All right. If you are teamed up with a lot of good players, you have about a 40% chance of winning. Okay, you never have a better than 40% chance of winning at most of my games. I'd say most of my games, unless a game was made for mainstream. Okay, and I'm saying we want to sell at Walmart, Target, those places. That's how I kind of approach the game. That's what I'm looking for. So when I'm watching play tests and when I'm changing things, I'm looking for the players, if they're experienced, to have about a 30% chance of victory. That game, with the changes he made, it went down to about a 10% chance of victory. And you have got to make every move right, especially when you get to the last 3 or 4 moves of the game, or else you just will get overrun at the very end. I can't tell you how many times I've lost that game because we're in the ship, but we just can't get off the ground before they get in the ship with us. Okay, and that's the biggest change. Now, it makes for a great fun tied up to the end, but people want to win every now and then. Okay, people don't mind losing some of the time, especially if they learn from it and say, okay, I'm challenged, I'm coming back. But if they lose all the time, that's not good. And that's the one thing that game struggles with. Now, obviously, there's a few rule tweaks you could do to make it to where you could win some games. And I would relax a few things, just to help you out so you can go on and enjoy it. But in the second edition, I'm going to try to take care of all that stuff for everybody. And really, what the focus of the second edition is not only make it to where it's more winnable, it's still going to be on that 30% win rate thing that I'm looking at, but to make it to where you feel much more like your character too. The characters right now do feel like themselves, but they're going to have their own character decks now, and they're going to be able to activate those dice in different ways based off their character decks and the cards they have active and so on and so forth. So they're going to be much more powerful than they were before. The bugs will be bringing a few new things at you also. So, that I think will be interesting.
Yeah, sounds really cool. Do you have an estimated timeline when?
I've started the design. I've redone the board. I've redone some of the stuff. I've created one of the characters. It's just a matter of getting back to it. My problem is, I've got, like I say, I've got so many projects, and I tell people I'm retired, but I'm mostly just tired, I think, but I am a little bit retired. But I work at my own pace, and so it just depends on when I can get back to it. Hopefully I would complete it this year and get it off of somebody, which means it would come out somewhere next year. But that's kind of where I stand on that one at this point. And it really just depends on how much time the other games take me. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, take your time, make it perfect as always.
Thank you.
Was there ever the idea to use or to buy the license from Starship Troopers for this design? It would fit perfect.
I leave all that kind of stuff to game companies. I have no desire to be a publisher. I'm not looking to be a publisher. I like designing games. That's too much work. I did all that stuff when I was an executive with AT&T. I don't want to do any of that stuff anymore. I don't want to sit in meetings. I don't want to talk to other companies. I don't have to organize stuff. I just want to design games. If somebody wants to publish them, great. If they don't, then I'll play my prototypes. I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Okay, Richard. All right. In the end, do you wish to say something to your German fans? What you always wanted to say, but never had the opportunity to?
Thank you. I think I know I have a lot of fans there, so I say thank you. I'm glad you enjoy my games. I'm glad that really I think we look to the German game players who have made a tremendous influence on this industry, and every one of us game designers and everybody that plays games throughout the world owe a great thanks to all the German players, because you guys have brought so much to it, and we just appreciate it.
Many thanks, and many thanks for your time, Richard. Was a real pleasure. Have a great day and stay healthy in these times.
I will. Best wishes to you, and same for all of you guys. Keep healthy.
Thanks so much. Bye, Richard.
You bet.